Rod, welcome to Inside the Truck. Nice to have you with us. This is an extremely busy time for you.
Mm.
Uh, Thank you so much for taking time out of the middle of Grey Cup week to join us. How are things in Winnipeg going so far?
It's good, but first of all, Paul, it's good to see you again, and you too, Steve. And this is a blast for me. Two guys that I've worked with in the past, of course, and it's never too busy to take some time out for this and for your podcast. It's great. Thanks for having me on.
That's very kind. Thanks, Rod.
How's preparations going, Rod, for the big game
It
on Sunday?
it's good, and I mean, from a director's point of view, from all the Grey Cups that you've done, Paul, how it's more refining it for a game of such importance where everything flies by so fast. Like, when you're doing preseason or early season games, in my preparation, a lot of it is names and numbers and just basic storylines, trying to get to know who these players are. Now all of that is done. I mean, I don't need to worry about studying numericals anymore, anything like that. I've seen these teams a lot, and it's more about fine tuning. I find that when you get to a Grey Cup broadcast, probably at any championship sports level, the production ramps up. Everything about it is ramped up, and it flies fast. And so you don't have as much time to be telling stories. You've got to boil it down into something a lot more concise, and that's mainly what I've been working on, and we'll continue to work on right through to Grey Cup Sunday.
Um, that show is different than any other football show you'll do in the season, right? You have viewers that are watching potentially their first CFL game of the year. You've got viewers that may be watching their first football game of the year. And
Yeah.
then you've got presidents and general managers of CFL teams watching. How do you dance that delicate dance of not dumbing it down too much, but not talking over everybody's head?
It's a great point, and that's part of that process. I talked about streamlining. That you can't assume that everyone watching is going to know who Davis Alexander is, or Trevor Harris for that matter. So you do have to. I think you have to not dumb it down, but make it understandable and relatable to anyone who just hasn't watched much CFL and is just joining in. I think you don't want to be too condescending, for those who understand the game and what's at stake. But I still think you do have to, there are a lot of viewers, a lot of extra viewers watching a Grey Cup. The ratings go up, and you do have to cater to that somewhat. So I wouldn't belabor it, but it would probably be, some of the talking points that might be just understood by avid CFL fans, just to tell other people what their backstory is. As I said, that's the challenge, though. It's all got to be done pretty quickly. You only have so much time between plays.
So you've done enough Grey Cups to have, I'm going to say a million Grey Cup stories. What's the go-to Grey Cup story that you love telling and that you love remembering?
Well, I mean, getting the chance to do the play-by-play, Steve, it's a thrill. It's a late career thrill for me. As Paul would know, and we worked together. I mean, the first time I got to do football play-by-play was with Paul in Saskatchewan. Do you remember this?
I remember
I
it.
think it was 1995,
Griffith
UBC in
Stadium.
Saskatchewan.
Yep.
Yeah, and when it was cold and they had heaters and set our boots on fire underneath, unbeknownst to us, until we smelled something. It was just, one of those classic, cold weather games. But I had a lot of fun doing that, and it was a great training ground for ultimately doing Vanier Cups and then Grey Cups. But I just think the thrill in the first one in Hamilton between Winnipeg and the Ticats. There was so much hope, of course, in the Steel City, for the Ticats to finally end their drought and win. But that thing, Hamilton nearly won it in regulation. It went to overtime, and I remember thinking to myself, "This is the first chance I get to call a Grey Cup, and it goes to overtime. I mean, is it going to be downhill from here?" As it turns out, it wasn't. I've been blessed with a lot of close finishes, but that was in my career like a pinch me moment, and I have had the chance to cover Grey Cups before, working the studio panel, working as a reporter, even attending them as a fan. But that was a real dream come true for me.
Yeah, you never forget your first one, right, Rod?
No.
My first one was 2008, I want to say.
Yeah.
It was
In Montreal.
in Montreal, right?
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, the first half went by in about 5 minutes of like real time for me. It was insane. Like it was like driving on the Autobahn. I'd never seen anything happen that fast, and had done a lot of football games to them. But when you bump your cameras up to like 30 plus,
Yeah.
and you've got 20 seconds between plays, and you've got on a tackle, you've got anywhere between 4 to 6 cameras to take.
Yeah.
It blows your mind. It really
Yeah.
does. A lot of Grey Cup though. You have to enjoy the stuff around the game too, right?
Yeah.
I remember my first one. I asked Matt Dunnigan straight out. I said, like, "This is my first one, Matty. Give me advice. Like, what, how do I handle this?" And he said, "You handle it the same way you would handle every other game."
Hmm.
I said, "I want to lock myself in my room." I mean, we were at the Sheraton Center in Montreal, and we had Spirit of Edmonton basically I could hear Spirit of Edmonton every night going off. And it
Yeah.
felt like I was in prison. I would not leave my room. And Maddie's like, "You got to go do it. You got to go do it. Be buttoned
Yeah.
up, be prepared, execute, but you can't treat this any differently than any other game."
Yeah.
So I always made sure to enjoy it. Have you had a chance to enjoy a little bit of Winnipeg this week?
There was a media party, and it was nice to go out last night. But honestly, I do tend to lock myself down a little bit more, and I don't know if it's a good idea. I like to socialize, just take it easy on and drinking beers or anything like that until after the game. But I mean, I do like the social aspect. Seeing so many, I'll go to the awards tonight. But for the most part, a little bit quieter on Friday and Saturday. I mean, there's so many. The Rough Riders are staying in the same hotel that I'm at, and of course, all our TSN family. So there's a good chance, to mingle and say hello to people without the party part of it. It's funny you mentioned that because with each progression I've made in terms of what I've done for TSN and Grey Cup, the partying has gone way, way down. Because I can remember a time with the late great Darren Detition, where we hosted a show, Grey Cup Saturday and Grey Cup Sunday, and we kind of took it as not only was it okay to go out and enjoy the Grey Cup festivities, we treated it kind of like an obligation. I mean, what are we going to talk about the next day? Because it was more color stories. I mean, we were on the air for 8 to 10 hours on the Saturday or Sunday. I mean, by game time, our responsibility was done. We could be fans and just watch the game. But as I say, we took back in those days, we took the partying part of it pretty seriously. And I don't know if it showed the next day, but I remember having friends I'd been out with who would text me while we're on the air saying, "How are you guys doing?" And
Yeah.
Dutch, of course, was the king. I mean, we quite honestly, it made it a lot of fun getting out, enjoying the atmosphere and everything else. And I'm glad I've seen that side of it. I can't do it anymore, and I want to make sure I'm good and ready. I mean, there'll be a nice party after the game is over with, and great to get together with everyone again. But a little more hunkered down. But I know what you mean, because the players have been saying that too. Talk to Trevor Harris about this, about how it's important as much as the game means. You can't really be treating it that way. You can't be, because you're going to put too much pressure on yourself. And you should just really be. I mean, if you've earned the chance to be a part of this broadcast or be a part of the team that's playing in it, you must be doing something right. So you gotta stick to what's got you there.
So other than it sounds like your apparel being set on fire at one point in the booth, is there like a funniest story from the Grey Cup when you think about the Grey Cup? Oh my God, that was the funniest thing ever.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm thinking from Grey Cup specifically. If we broaden that to just broadcasting or doing play-by-play in general, I mean, there were a lot of things leading up to that did. This will be my fifth, and for the most part, the game's been the thing. I mean, it's been so exciting, and thankfully, nothing disastrous has happened. You always go through these moments of panic beforehand where you forget what you're going to say, or you get this brief moment when you look at, 32 green. Who is that again? I mean, you get all these and it goes away quickly. You have that fear that all of a sudden you're going to lose your notes or lose your voice and all these other things. But I've been lucky that way. I have it. But as I say, Steve, if you want to open that question up beyond Grey Cups, there's a ton of them.
Yeah,
Let's do it, Rod. Let's just open the treasure
Okay,
trove.
well, and Paul knows this. First experience trying play-by-play was in hockey, campus radio, CKLN, the Ryerson station, now TMU in Toronto. And Paul was a part of this too. Actually, the year before that Paul and I did, it was Joel Darling, who you both know extremely well, was looking at. He was overseeing, the radio production, and he was doing play-by-play on it. And we had a game in North Bay, and he was having problems, I guess, with the mixer or getting things connected. And it was all done through a phone line. This is like the mid 80s, getting everything set up and basically phone line quality probably for friends and family, CKLN listening in,
If
that I
that.
don't think, yeah, I was going to say at most. And at one point, and I was so nervous because I'd never done anything like this before, and I was going to be his color guy. I mean, my hockey experience, I guess, was okay, but not really a color, not really a qualified color person. But I could see him. He's supposed to be calling the game, and he's working away on this mixer. And I had my mic and my headphones, and I thought, geez, if he's not maybe I should be calling this thing. So I didn't know what exactly the problem was. So I started calling and fumbling around and trying to call this Toronto Marlies, North Bay. Marlies were a junior team back then, and North Bay Centennials, and start calling it, and like I'd see him look up at me, like basically one of those, what are you doing? And he holds up the plug. The mixer's not even plugged in. So, and later in that game, the way the old North Bay arena was, the booth goes out over like the nearest boards. It goes right out over top of the ice, and there was a fight underneath. And curious as I was, we were trying to call the game, seeing who's involved in the fight. Leaned over and, nerd that I was, I had markers and, pens in my pocket, and there's a scrap going on and everything goes down. And you can see one of the officials, the linesman, looking up like, what the hell? Stuff on the ice, though. But then another one, and this is my favorite, Paul and I are calling games together. So I think I was doing play-by-play then, and Paul, you were doing color. And then we were in Sault Ste. Marie, and the booth in Sault Ste. Marie, the only way getting there, they have like a portable ladder, the little hooks at the end. It's like 20 feet, and they put that thing up, and it's like, scaffolding or, a fire escape.
Sounds lovely. Sounds lovely.
Yeah. Anyway, and so there we are in the Sioux, and we called the game, and we had to stay later to do a post-game show for CKLN. And by the time we were done, the lights were down in the building, and we went to get down, and the ladder's gone.
The ladder's gone.
Do you remember that, Paul?
I totally do.
They probably needed it for something else. What'd you expect?
We were thinking, and the thing is, too, the Marley team bus.
Yeah.
I mean, the least favorite people or the least important people on that bus would have been the two guys doing radio. They didn't care. This is, we got to get back to Toronto. We're in the Sioux, and we don't know if they're going to wait for us.
How the hell do we get down?
We're calling for someone. Please bring a ladder because you couldn't jump it. There was no way down.
Oh, that was the best. Those days were so good. They were so good. And the bus trips, I mean, we would like literally hop on the bus at Maple Leaf Gardens. That's where we'd depart from because that's where the Marlies played. And we'd go all over Sault Ste. Marie, North Bay, Sudbury. They were mega road trips, but a lot of fun for sure. But I do remember that moment. I'm like, Rod, what are we going to do here? How do we get down?
Yeah, I don't know. Thankfully, there's still one guy left cleaning up in the building as lights were down. Now, that was a moment. That was memorable. I also won. Hey, Steve, you remember Leaf Pedersen? I know Paul does.
Oh yeah.
Leaf's gone now. He's one of the characters of the game, both in as a player, a very good player.
He could play.
And as a broadcaster too. He was really, I mean, before Glenn Suter, he was our main analyst. And Paul and I started doing CFL along with our great producer John Hines will be producing this Sunday another Grey Cup. And Paul and John have worked a lot of games together. And this was the beginning for CFL in terms of John being a producer and Paul being a director. And I was starting to do play-by-play. And I don't know if you were on this trip, Paul, but you probably experienced it at some point with Leaf. That I don't know if it was rookie initiation. He later did this to James Duthie too, when James was calling games.
Yes,
they were in Vancouver, and Leaf wanted to catch the red eye. Leaf was just Leaf was Leaf, and everything had to be on on his time. And he didn't particularly like the game. He didn't particularly like the broadcast. He's working with a bunch of rookies, and he said, and I thought he was kidding, and he just goes, I'm out of here. And so he gets, so there's still easily 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And I hear John Hines in my key. So opens up his key and then said, dude, where's Leaf? Why is Leaf not talking? I said sheepishly, he's gone. What do you mean he's gone? He's gone. He went to catch the red eye. So in my case, a few minutes later, he did come back begrudgingly. But I heard, I remember James Duthie telling a similar story a few years later, and he never came back. He just left. I don't know, Paul, if you were working that game.
Yeah, well, I do know Friday nights he would leave. He would be on the red eye regardless out of Vancouver because he was an avid golfer, and he had a golf game every Saturday morning in Toronto. So he was like, it was like golf Work. Okay, see you later. I'm on the red eye. Yeah.
He
Yeah.
was, I miss him. We all do.
Yeah.
He was a great guy. He was a lot of fun, and he was pretty set in his ways that way. And he was, when he decided he was gone, that was usually pretty well it. So,
It always amazes me if the guy at home knew all the personalities of the
yeah,
guys on the air. I don't think they'd believe it. I really don't think
no,
they'd believe it.
yeah, it's a nerve-wracking business sometimes, but it's true. And at the time, and it's great to reflect on it now and laugh. And some of these stories at the time, I mean, and
That's
you've lived it
funny.
too. I'm sure all your years producing hockey. I mean, some of the stuff. I'm sure the stories that you could tell as well as you guys have been telling. There was, by the way, there was one other one because Paul and I also used to do a lot of Canadian University football. And you remember the setup? I think Seagram Stadium in Waterloo, which was the home of both the Warriors
Yes.
and also the Wilfrid Laurier Golden Hawks.
Yeah.
And I think we were doing, I don't know if it was a Western Laurier game we were doing. And I remember they'd have the scaffolding set up on one side and it was
Yeah.
windy. And
Yeah.
I had and it was a lesson I learned about preparing depth charts, all my notes for football. It's good. It's great to have the paper. It's great to have the notes in front of you, but you better have a lot in your head by game time for two reasons. One being, of course, there's very little time to react. I mean, the more you can just see a play, call a play, know who it is, know some of their backstory, the less you need your notes, the better. So that's one thing. Secondly, if a gust of wind comes along, as it did that day, and my depth charts, all my game notes, everything blew away a minute to kick off and over an 8-foot fence, like past the scaffolding. Now, eventually I got it back, but that was a moment of terror because I was very reliant on my notes back then. And I didn't have a numerical, nothing. And yeah, I mean, as I say, it's fun to look back on now, but I'm sure you two as well have had just moments where you're absolutely terrified. That's live television for you.
I was going to say that makes you a broadcaster, doesn't it? If you're not a broadcaster, then you're a broadcaster. Then, yeah.
You live and learn. You do. Absolutely.
Well, talking about that, just one more college football story that involves Leaf. John and I were doing an Atlantic Bowl in Halifax at Husky Stadium with John Wells and Leaf Pedersen, and this is classic Leafer. I don't remember who was playing. I'm blanking on it, but the opening kickoff of the game was a massive return that was basically going to go all the way for a touchdown. And at the second the player was knocked out of bounds at the 2-yard line, John was looking down at his depth chart to try to figure out who this guy was. And by the time he looked up, he just saw the pile in the end zone and called it as a touchdown. Right? And Leaf doesn't say anything. They run their offense out, line up at the 2-yard line, and John goes, "Oh, Leafer, this is interesting. Going for two so early." And like Leafer just deadpan. Didn't get in, John.
You know what?
Like he just laid out for like the whole thing. Replay sequence, offense on the field, formation. Didn't say a word.
Yeah, he would do that, especially it was like rookie initiation too. Sometimes that if you were, I mispronounced a few names or something, and I don't think it came out the right way, and he would. Well, I'm not going to say the word, but anyway, I said something I shouldn't have said. It was.
Well, I worked with you on that show.
Yeah, it was accidentally profane.
Yes,
and
it was a hybrid of kick and punt. Do the math.
Yes, that was the one.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I guess it's like if you're at the scene of a crime and you want to escape. You run. The metaphorical equivalent of that in broadcasting is in the next 30 seconds you have to say 1,000 words because I don't want to draw attention. So I probably became like an auctioneer after that. I was just rattling off words because I couldn't believe it. I was hoping no one heard it. And as we're going, and then the next break, and I look over, it might have been before the break, and Leaf is red beside himself on the floor laughing. And I thought, oh, great. Because he's never going to let me live it down, and he didn't. So,
well, I remember you after that game, Rod. You thought you were fired.
Oh, I thought
you thought it was over. You thought it was over. Like,
it was.
It was Bob Cameron back to.
Yeah,
punt,
it was. That's right.
But
yeah,
he was kicking the ball, so technically it was not incorrect. But yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
I won't say it again, but Yeah, that might have been in my career my biggest moment of terror. Like, oh my God, like anyway, and he wouldn't, and that was how playful he was. He wouldn't let you live it down. He never would. So,
No.
but anyway.
God bless Leifer. He was a
Oh
beauty.
yeah, he was. Guys like, I mean, characters that I've had to work with are no longer with us. Him and Dutchy and Chris Schultz and Tony Darchi was a producer in studio. I mean, there were just so many greats, and that's what it's all about. As you guys know, in this business, it's the people you meet along the way.
Yeah, I know. Looking back, we don't ever remember the games, right? Remember our football family, our TSN
Yeah,
family. It's the
yeah,
people. You know what I mean? We can't tell you any scores hardly, but we can tell you moments like the ones we've just been talking about.
absolutely. Yeah, no, it's the people we worked with that make it. So no kidding.
It's
Okay,
funny.
so
Sorry.
sorry. Go ahead. Go
Go.
ahead,
No,
Steve.
you go, Paul.
No, you go, Steve.
I was just going to say it is the people you work with. And then when you start to think about the stories, sometimes they just come flooding back.
They do.
Like,
They
oh
do.
my God, I remember that. I remember that. And if there's like three other people with you around remembering, oh my
Yeah.
God, you could kill 3 hours without, it seems like 3 seconds.
They all come up again, Steve, and sometimes like because Paul had got in touch with me about this and stuff and we were going back and forth just and thinking of that Sault Ste. Marie story, and I hadn't thought of that in years. I mean, that was 40 years ago. Oh my goodness! I mean, I think I'm at the point in my career when I can reflect on something that happened 40 years ago. It's crazy, but it is so true. I mean, they're there, and sometimes it takes something just to prod it, and then back it comes again, and that's the stuff I treasure. I mean, once I'm retired, once I'm done, it's memories like that are they're right at the top for me. That's what I enjoyed so much.
And Rod, we haven't even got into the Vanier Cup memories that
Yeah,
working on Vanier Cup together, right? With we'd be doing it out of the control. The game would be at Skydome. We'd be doing it out of Dome Productions control room in there. And remember, it was like mega pregame show, mega
yeah,
halftime, mega post, and there was so much coming at us. Producer would be like, "Okay, we're throwing to the feature," and you're like, "The
yeah,
feature? What feature? Like, we don't know there's a feature coming. Like, just cue, talk about the feature." It's
yeah.
just like we're like,
Sometimes
"What
it would be
machine
a
is it?
little.
Where the yeah?" Like it's just like those days, those early days were just like
Oh yeah,
absolute just chaos, right?
yeah.
It
Well,
was,
I mean, I played football at Queens and I worked a Vanier Cup. I wasn't calling it. I was doing sideline and when Queens was in it and they won, they beat St. Mary's that day. And Paul Romanek and I were doing sidelines. And one of us had to do like stuff on the field and the other one had to go back for trophy presentation. And I didn't find out until I went back in there that I was expected to do it in English and in French. And I didn't. I think I might have been given a script at the last second, and I had no idea. And meanwhile, Romy is out, and they picked him up, and they were at a Queen bunch of rowdy, drunken Queen students had picked him up, and I'm sure he was what have I got myself into? And I'm in a quiet room while the school that I used to go to and used to play for is celebrating, and I'm thinking, what have I got myself into? Because my French isn't very good, and it was suddenly thrust upon me. And I remember thinking there, I don't know how Paul would have been with the reverse role, but I was thinking I want to be out there getting hoisted by the drunken students. So anyway, it doesn't always work out, but yeah, that's another one of the many memories where you're just suddenly, as you say, something's just thrown at you, and you got to deal with the curves. Sometimes when they're understandable, sometimes when they're not understandable. But I have found that too. You got to deal with a lot of curveballs.
I always find it amazing when you're in a situation like that, how fast your mind works and how many things you think of. Some of them
Yeah.
not really good about how
No.
bad this could, and you almost have to banish those thoughts,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I remember. It's so true. And James Duthie always had the great metaphor for that. Call it the hamster on the wheel, where you get those moments where you're trying to think of something, trying to think of what to do, and all it is in your brain is a hamster running on a wheel, not getting anywhere.
1,000 miles an hour, right? Like
Exactly.
I can't believe what I thought of in 5 seconds there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and
yeah.
and 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 the faster you make that hamster run, the more it's going nowhere. I've found that too, just gaps in thought. Just I was thinking, what was I trying to remember or thinking of? And it's hard when you're on. It's even worse when the camera is actually when you're on camera. But
Oh my God.
What was I going to say?
The light
Yeah.
is on. The
Oh
light
yeah,
is on.
yeah,
And like,
yeah,
what is even, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not
and
good.
1 second is going by like in 10 minutes at that point,
Oh,
right? It's just like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
your heart rate's 150, your eyes are wide open, you haven't blinked for 10
I have
seconds.
all these ones are coming back. Like one where in the sports desk, sports center, and there are a couple of cameras, one for the wide, and then the other one, your main one that you use to introduce all your items. And and Paul, I don't think you were directing this one, but I remember there was a news item in. I didn't know what it was, and I was told just read the prompter.
oh,
And I turned and it said on two, on two. So I turned to two and the prompter monitor's off.
Oh.
So I got no paper in front of me. And then the problem is, like, in the control room, they don't know what the problem is.
no,
Like they
no.
say, read the prompter. And
What's
all I
wrong with
want to say
Rod?
while I'm
Why
on
is
my
Rod
television,
doing this? What's
there is
wrong
no
with
damn
Rod? Yeah.
prompter.
Yeah.
There is no prompter.
And if you don't know the story and you can't even ad lib it, and who knows how serious it is either. So,
Oh,
oh yeah, fun memories of television.
how do you, because I think we talked about the speed of football, and I don't think the guy at home has any idea how it's like the fastest sport I've ever done in the truck. Are you at the point now when you call a game where you can slow it down for yourself and almost pick your own pace? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, and it's a good point, and it's true. I think, and it's probably more important when the pace is fast and furious, to slow it down or develop a pace instead of trying to describe. I learned the hard way that way that you listen back and you're trying to describe every single thing, and eventually you're out of breath, and people aren't really picking up. You gotta find the most significant things and try to slow it down. But I find your point interesting, knowing everything that you've done in hockey. And for you, Paul, in hockey and football, I always thought hockey would be the tougher one to do because of fewer stoppages in time, because at least you do get a reset with the play. So that's interesting, because I know aside from the campus radio experience that I had with Paul, I really didn't do much hockey. So, but sometimes the pace, though, it does, and I love it when it does too. It usually means it's because the game's getting really dramatic.
For me, the time between plays always felt like 6 seconds. And
Right,
clearly it was, I think it's because there were just so many options at
right,
that time. I can't process this fast enough. And they're over the ball. And I'm like,
yeah.
what do you like? Holy cow.
Well, that's interesting, and that's a producer's point of view. And so, for producers and directors, and that how you use that time in between, for me, it would be a moment to take a break and reset, because I'd call the play, and then the analyst would take over for a moment. I might be able to get some instructions at the time, or just reset myself into where it is. So, yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way, but I can see how you got a bunch of decisions that you have to make in a
Oh,
short period of time.
yeah.
It's the same in the director chair too, because on after each play, you show the offensive hero, you show the defensive hero. Are you going to get into coordinators? Are you going to get back into storytelling players? There's never enough time between snaps to and then you always want to get back and do justice to the line of scrimmage, right? You always want to be back with enough time for the viewer to be wide so you can see what the offense and defense is doing. But as a director, you also want to paint a bit of a Picasso with kind of a neat shot, whether it's from cable
Yeah,
cam or a handheld or a low end zone. So there's never enough time. And on every tackle, you have a million decisions to make, and you've got a millisecond to make them.
See, in the
I do
time,
not.
no, go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Rod.
I was just going to say, Steve, I don't say this to be patronizing. I could not do what you guys do. I mean, the responsibility of an entire production, the responsibility of the entire look with all the cameras, say for a Grey Cup. I mean, how many cameras did you have, Paul?
I went at my last one. I think we had like 33 cameras.
Like
So yeah,
that's the kind of stuff that, from my point of view, blows my mind. Or overseeing a big production, whether you're talking about Grey Cup, Stanley Cup, whatever have you. When your job is to be up in a booth and describe what you see. And I'm not saying it's easy, but it's something, like in my world, that's manageable, because I only have to worry basically about what I do, whereas you two have had to worry about so many other people and making sure everybody does their job right.
But to me, that's the beauty of it is you recognize what the other team members can do, what their strengths are, and you just play to those. And maybe that's what TV is all about. Live TV is all about.
Yeah, I think so. And it's to me, I've always taken great pride in just being a part of the machine, just one part of it, and view it that way. And for us, I mean, when you get to big events, and Paul, I know you can speak to this with TSN's coverage of Grey Cup. It's when you get to the final game, it's like an all-star team. It really is. Everyone, whether we're talking about cameras, audio, like everyone, like EVS ops, everybody producing, directing. I mean, you're at the top of the game with everyone there, and that's a pretty cool feeling. Everyone is not only qualified to be there; they're the really the best we have, and that's an excellent feeling. Just sitting up in a booth and talking football.
And everybody on that crew, Rod, has worked their entire season perfecting their game, perfecting their craft,
Yeah,
getting better to bring it to that one moment, right?
yeah.
Which you guys will do, and to do better than anybody else has on Sunday in Winnipeg.
Well, thanks. It's as I say, as you well know, it's just a real treat. I grew up with it. I'm from Ottawa, and it was my number one event as a kid. We didn't have an NHL team at the time, and we had a good CFL team. And even though it became like I started liking the NFL as a kid as well, but the Grey Cup was always number one. And I'm pretty late in my career now, but to get the chance to work on the number that I've had to work on, it's been a dream come true for me. That's for sure.
So were you Tom Clements to Tony Gabriel? Is that kind of
Oh yeah,
your
oh yeah.
age?
Yeah, I got to be careful talking to Rider fans about that. I was like, who remember it from the other side? I mean, Saskatchewan had been in 1976, Saskatchewan had the best team in the CFL, and I think they felt it was their time. And there was over my friend Terry's and watching that game in Ottawa. And when Clements hit Gabriel, someone threw the pizza, and there was pizza stuck in the ceiling and gradually like peeling off, and and it was just, and drinks were spilt, and it was just, I mean, I was like early teenager then, but it was that was an awesome memory for Ottawa anyway. And by the way, Leaf Pedersen might have scored a touchdown in that game, just to tie in with Leaf again. But that was the last Grey Cup where all the points scored were by Canadians, 1976.
That's what's so great about the game, right? The big game, the Grey Cup. I mean, has there been some stinkers in its history for sure? But I'm telling you what, in recent memory, they fail. They really don't disappoint, and it is really truly never over until it's over. And TSN has done an amazing job of delivering the goods like nobody else on that broadcast. Rod, we won't take up any more of your time unless you've got any more parting shots you'd like to take. I know we have to let you get back to prepping for the Sunday's big game. But again, it was a pleasure to have you with us. What number did you wear again when you played for Queens?
I was only playing for 2 seasons. I was the center wearing 45, but then my final year I wore number 64.
Okay, well, you know what? We'll have you back for episode 64,
Okay,
and we can talk about all the great football players that wore number 64 in addition to yourself.
Well, that's great. I love that idea, and it's not a parting shot, but just a comment that we talked earlier about. It's the people you meet along the way in this business that really makes it. It's really makes for the fondest career memories for me, and that includes the two of you. So it's nice. This is unexpected. It was nice to share some time with you.
Well, thanks for taking that. Yeah, thanks for taking that time, Rod.
Thanks, Rod, very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Great chatting.